Hi guys. I figured I would try and help kind of critique papers and additional questions as a whole via video because I think sometimes things can be so misinterpreted or misconstrued when you write them. Um, so by now probably all of you guys have gotten your papers back, and I tried as much as possible to really like go in and give individual um, notes on how you can improve. Basically, if you received an A, you have down the academic style of writing. It's third person. Your introduction and your conclusion are very clear. All of your main points are very clear, and you use, um, you know, good, solid examples or quotes. And the at that point, it's just like, how can we make this a perfect paper? And it's cutting out the chaff. It's like, okay, what words don't need to be in there? How can we make the paper as clean as possible? If you got a B, um, your your foundation was there for your paper. You had an introduction, you had a conclusion. Your main points may have been a little bit confusing and not concise. Um, and maybe you had examples, but it was too many quotes or the examples were not clear. Um, C and below papers, I'm missing introductions, I'm missing conclusions, and those are really important because they're the bookends of your paper. So I'll talk more about it in a second, but I didn't have an introduction, I didn't have a conclusion. Your main points in the paper did not tie into what your thesis statement was, or like what the topic of your paper was. There might have been quotes, but they didn't make sense. There was some that were in there because maybe you liked the quote, but it was not adding to what you were trying to support, the main point that you were trying to support. And I got in the C and below papers, so many of them were written in the first person. So it was all, well, I thought this, I felt this, I really liked this because, and that's blog style writing. And you may be correct in whatever your in the topic that you're discussing, but you can't write it in the first person. You can give examples. Natalie thinks that with dance students, I'm not saying that you write your paper, like this, but I personally believe that with dance students, you have to set the bar this high, and that students will jump to reach that, and they may not always like get to it, but they'll get close to it. Versus if you say, well, this is what I believe that you can do, and you're setting the standard low, that the child is not even going to be able to get to that. And so instead of saying, well, I think that if you set a big goal like this for a kid, that doesn't work. But if I use an example of, at Center Stage Performing Arts Academy, there was a class of students, and when their teacher, set this specific goal that was beyond their capabilities, they had the enthusiasm and the willpower to work hard to achieve that goal. So it's still my story, but it is now in a third person. It's not I think, well, I thought, well, I feel, or I like. It's stating it as facts, but using it as an example. So if you wrote your paper in a I or me tense, or a second person, you, like regarding the reader, you can't do that in an academic paper. It has to be third person. It has to be written like you're just stating the facts. And that is really critical and really, really crucial. And I think, you will find that as you continue to pursue other or your degree and take other classes and stuff, it is imperative that you learn to write an academic paper correctly, because you will write them for everything. And once you master it, then it's not so hard. It's not so hard to do for any subject. So I think as a whole, everybody's works cited page was not the MLA formatting. It is single spaced, and then the second line, if there is a second line of your reference, hangs. That is not double spaced. I think those were the main things. I would, if you are a B or below, I will allow a rewrite. I strongly encourage either going to the writing lab, or if you have, my husband edited all my papers. If you have somebody in your life that you trust to help you be that second pair of eyes, I get it. You've spent hours on this project and you're like, if there is something wrong with it, I can't see it because I've been working on it so long. You need that second or third pair of eyes to be like, okay, well, now, reading this the first time, that doesn't make sense to me. I would rephrase that, or that's helpful. But a writing lab, that's their job. They want to do that. They want to help you. And so I would suggest seeing your friends in the writing lab. There are some of you that did not submit a paper, and I found out on the back end that there were things that came up and stuff. We've all got lives, guys. I know that, we are all juggling work and families and just life. And so I get that, but I cannot help you after the deadline has passed. If you write me ahead of time, we can work on giving an extension or doing something, but I can't find out on the back end. Same with discussion boards. I had a couple people ask if they are able to receive credit for discussion boards that have already passed. I can't give you credit for those. That's like asking me if I can count you present for a class that you didn't attend. So if you're worried about your grade, there are you can do an additional live critique paper for up to 50 points depending on your grade there. But going back to if you didn't submit a paper, you can still submit this paper and the second paper as long as I receive them before November 30th. But this one, if you did not submit it in Dropbox, it will be considered your rewrite. So I would just make sure that you're solid on this paper before you turn it in, because you won't be able to rewrite it. The last two papers of the semester that are due December 5th maybe, and then you've got your final live theater critique that you can submit to me now, but I won't grade it until until December 6th or whatever. Those, if you miss them, you miss them. I won't be able to read the new ones and then submit the grade before the deadline. So those two, if you want the credit for them, you got to get them in on time. So I think that's it. Please email me if you have any questions. Like I said, I tried to make really, really good notes to help you. But I definitely encourage you to see the writing lab to rewrite, and on to the next module.